time does your day normally start?
At this time of the year, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Wait for the school traffic to drop.
Right.
Summertime, I leave home at 6:30.
What time do you normally finish?
This time of the year, 3 o'clock. Summertime, 6:37.
Yeah, really? Wow.
At summertime, I've got more work than I can possibly handle.
So how many jobs do you roughly do, let's say in a day in summer, or is it in a week?
Summer I try and do 8 jobs a day, 8 or 9, sometimes 10, depends how far I've got to go.
Which is a massive day if you're doing 10 in a day, yeah. Trying to get from one to one.
Yeah, I've got a pretty, because I've been doing this for 10 years, if I've got to go further than Narry North, I'm not happy.
So what you've done over the 10 years, you've obviously condensed your...
Just condensed it right down, yeah.
Well, that's the thing in gyms, isn't it? Put yourself down for all areas as much as you can, then as you go, you can condense your route.
Well, that's exactly right, yeah. But at the start, you've got to do the hard yards.
Now, what were you doing prior to gym?
Construction.
You're doing construction, yeah?
Yeah, marine construction. So
really?
I spent the days floating around the bay on barges and tugboats and stuff like that, building bridges and wharves and marinas. Loved the work, but the hours were killing me. I had a young family at the time, and I was leaving home at 5 in the morning, getting home at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. 6 days a week. Money was good, I really enjoyed the work, but there was just no work-life balance. All I did was work. What broke the camel's back was she had a Christmas concert or something or other. It was on a Saturday, and she said, "Dad, you're coming to this one, aren't you?" And I said, "I will be there," and told me boss. I said, "Mate, I'm leaving at 12 o'clock on Saturday." Told him a week beforehand. Yeah, no worries. And came to 12 o'clock on that Saturday, and I started packing up, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Mate, it's my daughter's concert. I told you I've got to go." He said, "We're not going anywhere." I said, "We're just driven a pile, and we're not going to be finished till 5. And he gave me the old, "Don't come Monday if you're going." So I stayed at work, and then got a teary phone call from my daughter that afternoon, and that's when I knew it was time to make a change.
In that transition period, what were you looking at? What were you thinking about to do? Or
I knew I didn't want to work for the man anymore, so I started looking at different businesses, established businesses, mostly through business for sale and stuff like that. I looked at probably 20 different businesses. At the end of the day, they wanted 200,000 for business. It was returning me 100 grand. I was making more than that doing construction. I thought, well, why do I want to take on a business with all the headaches to make less money than I'm making now with staff and all the rest of the stuff? So I looked, and I found, I think it was on Seek or somewhere like that, there was Jim's Pool Care. So I sent off an email, as I had done to multiple other businesses. Brett gave me a call, had a chat with him. Seemed like a good option. There's no one in Victoria, so that sort of left it wide open. We probably had 3 or 4 months of back and forward, phone calls and emails and stuff like that. Before I knew it, I took the plunge and bought the franchise all rights for half of Victoria, and off we went.
And how many years ago was that?
January 21st, 2011.
Wow, because the guy
10 years.
10 years, yeah. Well, congratulations on your 10 years. Well, we're at the job 1, mate. So let's jump out and let's show them what it is.
Let's do it.
So, you want to talk through normal tools of the trade here? Adam, what are you getting out? What are you doing?
Look, mate, it's just we're doing basic clean. So we've got our net and our skimmer and our brushes, bits and pieces, measuring jugs, pretty much everything we need.
Awesome.
Let's go for a wander. All right, so we've got a 60,000 litre pool here, a robot cleaner. Now these little things here, one of the most wonderful things invented in the pool industry. Everyone will remember your old-fashioned creepy crawly, which is commonly known as a suction cleaner, which really have been superseded by these. This is a robotic cleaner. Right, they are electric. Everyone goes, electric pools, scary. They're only 12 volt. You cannot get zapped by them. But the wonderful thing is, everything gets caught up in here, right? Which I'll bring so you get a bit of a close-up look.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yep.
Right, which is just theory. Well, it's pretty much like an air filter in a car or something like that. So this will catch all the dirt in your pool. So the dirt doesn't have to go through your filtration system. You haven't got the big long suction pipe like everyone else does. Really good things. So we'll get that out of the equation first. Second thing we do is a skimmer basket. Well, this is where the water gets sucked in from the pump, and it'll catch all your leaves and bits and pieces. All right, so this one's very clean because we don't have a lot of leaves around here. Now, if you do have a pool or something like this and you've got a lot of leaves around, this is something you need to check weekly, all right? Because water returns from that end of the pool, pushes down here, gets sucked from here, so any leaves or anything on top of the pool is going to end up in here. If you've got a lot of leaves, that will block up, stops the water flow properly through to the pumps, and will cause issues. Okay, now if you want to have a look, the pump gear's in here.
Yep.
It's a little bit dark and stuff like that. All right, so we've got a basic system here. Pump, filter, chlorinator, solar. All right, so what we're going to do first is backwash the filter. That's on filter now. Just go around the other way, turn it on. What this does, brings the water in. This is a sand filter. It's a little bit dusty in here. It reverses the way the water goes through the filter, stirs all the dirt up. This pipe here is going down the drain. All right, so a little bit noisy. I usually do this for 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how dirty the filter is. I look after this pool all the time, so it's not too bad. We've got a little bit of extra water in the pool at the moment because it has been raining in Melbourne. All right, so I'm going to let this run a little bit longer to drop the water down a bit because we're going to get more rain and it's going to get wetter.
Yep.
And after we've done the backwash, there's actually a rinse cycle on there. And the rinse cycle is for the reason, it's like you've done the dishes, all right? Your dishes are all soapy if you don't rinse them afterwards. It's the same principle. If you go straight back to filter, it'll blow a lovely big plume of dirt back into the pool, which you don't want. That it needs to do for 30 or 40 seconds. As you can see, we've got dirt and bits and pieces on the bottom of the pool. So what we're going to do now is actually vacuum the pool. So same principle as doing your vacuum in the house, but instead of using air, we're going to use water. Now, one thing you have to do when you're doing this, as you can see, I'm feeding the hose into the water. If I plug this hose into the skimmer basket now without filling it full of water, the pump will get a huge burst of air. Pumps need water to work. Too much air in there, it'll venturi, and then we'll have to wait for the pump to prime up. And if it doesn't, then we'd actually have to prime the pump manually, which is a pain. So at the moment, as you saw when we pulled the basket out, we've got an area this big. We put that in there, reduces the pipe down to here, so we get a really good suction on there, so we can actually clean the pool. And now it's pretty much we vacuum the pool. I actually find vacuuming pools quite rewarding. It's like mowing the grass. You know, when your grass is all long and furry, and then you mow the grass and you can stand back and look at it afterwards. It's very similar. The first job I ever did when I started was actually Jim's pool.
Right.
And Jim's pool, personal pool, hadn't been touched in I'm not sure how many years, and it was black, and I'm talking seriously black. I was very much a novice, as you would be, but I ended up having to drain the whole thing, put pumps in, got all the water out because it was so bad. And I got down the last sort of 1.5 foot of water, and there's something splashing around in there, and I found 3 trout.
Really?
At the bottom of Jim's pool.
Bloody hell.
So, which I said, hey Jim, do you realise you got fish in there? He said, yeah, I put them in there years ago. And I said, well, they're nice and healthy. What do you want to do with them? Do you want to eat them? And he said, no. So I fished them out and took them down to the dam at the back of Jim's headquarters and let them go. So
That's good. They're probably still in there.
Oh, unless someone's been fishing for them.
Which they wouldn't have, yeah.
And that's sort of a little bit of beauty about the job. You'll have days like today when we're just doing normal pool cleans and stuff like that, but when you get a lead through, you know, they might say they just want a clean, and you'll get there and the pump will be blown, there's something wrong, because your average person doesn't call me to tell me their pool's perfect, which is what is really, I've found, is happening now, is people are time poor. All right, Dad's working, Mum's working. It's not like the old days where Dad went to work and Mum stayed at home and looked after the kids. Those days are well and truly gone. You know, it's dual income. On the weekends, kids are playing footy, they're playing soccer, they've got basketball, whatever they're doing, and they just don't have time to do the pool anymore. And instead of spending their Sunday, Dad's got to come out here, he's got to vacuum the pool, take a water sample, go to the pool shop, line up, pay exorbitant rates for chemicals, come back and do it again, and then at the end of the day, it's hit and miss because he's not a pool man. All right. You get someone like ourselves, we come out here, we'll clean the pool, adjust all your timers, your outputs, everything like that, and balance the pool so it's perfect to swim. And you don't have to worry about it. You know? And I come once a month and I do this, but the advantage is you've got my phone number as well. So 2 weeks' time, something goes wrong, the pool's not looking flush, Adam, there's something wrong with the pool. Check this, check that. Most of the things I can do over the phone. If that doesn't work, I'll drop in, have a look, and we'll rectify the problem.
And how many regular customers do you have?
I've got about 70 regular clients.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's nice for me because it keeps me busy all year. But once the season starts, we get into spring, my phone's like a poker machine. It's just bing, 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 bing. You know, I'll have clients that I might do every 2 years, right? Only when they've got an issue. They look after their pool, but their pump will break down, something will break down. Every couple of years they'll call me, Adam, this has gone wrong. That's no worries, I'll come out and I'll fix it.
Because the aspect that people probably don't know is you guys obviously, it is Jim's Pool Care, but it's also mobile pool shop. So
Exactly
you're
right.
the mobile pool shop. So maybe you want to talk a bit about that aspect of the business.
Yeah, well, look, apart from putting these things in the ground, we'll do everything else. All right, so your pumps, your filters, your chlorinators, robotic cleaners, chemicals, solar on the roof, heaters.
Solar on the roof as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yep.
I'll do everything.
Right.
Yeah. Apart from putting them in the ground. Yeah, and I'll leave that to the guys to put them in the ground because that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
On this pool, we've actually got a variable speed pump, all right, which I'll explain a little bit about. Well, it's a DC pump, right? So you can adjust it, the RPMs on how fast it runs, right, and how much power it uses. Now I've just turned that on so it starts off in high, right? So it's in turbo mode, so it goes flat out for about 5 minutes, and then reverts back to what we've set it at. Now, when I'm cleaning the pool, I went on turbo mode, right? So I've got lots of suction there. Now it's just, I'm not sure if you heard, but the pump was making you could hear it now. Now you can't hear it. The pump's still running, right? But it's dropped itself right down, right? So you're saving power. It's still doing the same thing, but I've got to go and press a little button.
Whilst
So I
you're
go
cleaning.
back into turbo mode, so it makes it easier for clean.
Yep. So how would you get through all this in summer, Adam? Like if you had to do, let's say, 8 of these, like how would you get through it all?
You start early and you finish late.
Yeah.
Spring's probably the busiest time for us because of the fact you're getting a lot of people neglect their pools over winter, which is some people think they're saving money. They actually just turn the pumps off. They think they're saving power.
Right.
But the problem is they turn it off for 3 or 4 months. Pool goes green, black, funky. But when you turn pumps off for a period of time as well, because it's an electrical motor, right, they'll start seizing up, right? Because like you leave your car sitting for 6 months, you come back, it's got a flat battery, the tyres are half flat, stuff like that. You've got to keep things moving.
Yeah.
All right.
So it costs them more money by not having a maintenance program in winter. It costs them more money.
Exactly. It costs them more in the end, you know. And a green pool depends how bad's anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to fix. And I still have clients that ring me every October. Their number's in my phone. They ring me. And I said, "Pool's green, isn't it?" They go, "Yep." I said, "You turned your pumps off again, didn't you?" They say, "Yep." And I say, "Then just come and fix it." And I say to them again, I say, "Do not do it." I said, even if you don't want me to regularly service your pool, give me a call at the start of winter. I'll come around, adjust the chlorinators, adjust the pumps, and in winter time your pump really only needs to run 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 hours a day, which might cost you $1 a day in power, maybe. The cost of keeping your pool running is way cheaper than fixing a green pool. And then of course summertime is extremely busy because everybody wants to be in their pool. You know?
Now let's talk about the training aspect of this business. How did you get trained back in the day, or what's the training like now?
Look, things have changed a lot
Yep.
since I started. Probably for the fact more so than because I was the only one in Victoria. I went to Queensland for 10 days, spent time in the office with Brett, went out with a few franchisees, cleaned a few pools, learned a bit, and sort of come back to Melbourne. I was on my own, which when you're starting out was quite daunting. I'm sort of reasonably lucky. I'm a chippy by trade, and I'm a pretty hands-on sort of guy. So the plumbing and stuff like that was reasonably easy, but getting my head around the rest of it was a bit of a challenge. So I reached out. Good thing in Victoria, there's most of the pool equipment manufacturers are in Victoria. So I reached out to a lot of our suppliers to gain extra training. Found some really good people down here that were very happy to help me. Drove Brett crazy for months with 5 or 6 phone calls a day trying to work it out, and got things happening.
Now, what's the training like now? Because you obviously have 9 franchisees under you, so maybe you want to talk about their experience now.
But we've come a long way in 10 years. So I'll have with a new franchisee now, they'll come on the road with me for, I've got to say, minimum 10 days. Some guys pick things up very quickly, some guys don't. So I won't let a guy go out on the road by himself until I feel confident that he can do a pool by himself. But in this industry, you never stop learning. There's something, and I think you get most of your knowledge out here by the pool. We've got a great supplier network down here with our chemical companies, our pump companies, our solar companies, our robot companies. So everyone that's part of it, you'll spend a day with our chemical company, right, and they'll get into the nitty-gritty of the chemicals, how the different chlorines work, how the different balances work and stuff like that. You'll spend a whole day with our pump manufacturers, right, and they'll explain to you all about pumps, the chlorinators, the filters, stuff like that. You'll spend a day at Matronics. Right? You'll learn about the robots and stuff like that, how to pull them apart, how to fix them. You'll spend a day with our solar company. They'll explain all about solar, how to sell solar, how it works, the benefits, stuff like that. So it's the training bit we've really got worked out. Look, for all the guys we brought on in Melbourne, no one's got a pool background. Australia-wide, there's quite a few people that have come from other franchises, and they've left there for whatever reason they did have, and they've come across. But with a franchise, I suppose, it's a set business for you. Right? The training's there. We've got the manuals. If you follow the manual, and that's step by step by step, you will be successful. Right? But to be successful, you have to be passionate, right? And you have to get off your ass and have a crack. Right? And anyone that thinks it's a business, I'm just going to make great money straight away, I can sit on my ass, wait for the phone to ring, and just cruise, you're in the wrong game. Right? It's hard work. Right? Very, very, very rewarding, right? Financially and work-life balance, which I think most of the guys that come on board are after that work-life balance. Right? They're ex-corporate or they're ex-construction or they're ex-whatever, but they're sick of the 9 to 5. I've got a new guy that's coming on now, he's corporate. I talk to him all day long, he's doing Zoom meetings from home and it's driving him crazy. He goes, I can't do this anymore. And I took him out for the day, we went out and cleaned 8 jobs. He goes, how long's this been going on for? So it's been going on for a while.
So I want to hit on that aspect. You just said the day on the road, so someone can come out and actually spend the day with you. So rather than just reading an info pack, the best thing is to come out come
for
out
sure,
with you.
yeah. Like there's the initial consultation, where we chat with you, have a talk about you. We've got to make sure that you're right for the job. Anyone's sort of right for it, but you've got to have the right mindset. I can tell pretty much within 5 minutes of talking to a potential franchisee whether or not I'm going to invest the time to keep talking with them. Some guys are just looking for a job, which it's not a job, it's a business. But once we get through that initial bit, if they sound right, bang, the next thing is come out on the road with me for a day, we jump in the van and we come and do this. And we do this all day long. I get to know you, you get to know me, you hit me with a million questions, I'll explain what I can. And then you get a day, so that gives you a real idea of what an average day in the life of a pool man is.
Cool.
And then you go back, have a think about it, if it sounds like a good thing, and then we start rolling with it.
Awesome.
Okay, that's a cleaning bit. Now we get into the chemicals. Now, because as a pool works, this has got a salt chlorinator on there, right? Quick thing about salt chlorinator is it makes chlorine for you. All right? Wonderful, wonderful. Better than even the robots. All right? But if you see here, we've got our 2 return jets. So the water's getting sucked from there through the pumps, returning there, and then the water pushes down and it gets sucked in again. I'm going to do my water test. If I do my water test up the front here, I've got fresh chlorine coming straight out of the chlorinator, so it's going to give me false readings. So I'm going to take the water test furthest part away I can, so I'm going to get a neutral test. Okay, we'll take that back to the van and we'll go and do a water test, eh guys? Okay, this is where it all happens. This is what's called a spin test. So these little discs here, what we do, we take a water sample, put this in here, put the desired amount in. What this does is tells us exactly what's in the pool water. That's quite a great little tool.
Now, how hard is this aspect to get your head around chemicals, or does it take
Chemical
time?
side of it.
Yeah.
Look, there's the basic chemicals, which is not too hard. We actually have what we call a cheat sheet. So there's a mathematical equation. Right? So this will give you a reading to get the desired calculations you want in the pool. It's times 15 times 30, da, 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 and it will tell you down to the gram how much of each chemical you have to put in. I've done this thousands and thousands of times, so I can pretty much just bang it out in my head. But that's the basics of it, which is your salt, your chlorine, stuff like that. When you're playing with green pools and stuff like that, that's when things get a little bit more tricky, and that's when the knowledge of being in the business for years and years and years comes into it. You know? So, right here, so we've got a high chlorine level, right, because of the fact we are now into winter. Right. So our salt's good, CNA's good, hardness is good, pH is slightly up, ALK's down, but our chlorine's high, right? So that means we've got to reduce the time and the output that the pool is running for because it's making too much chlorine. I've also got another magic chemical that will reduce the chlorine out of the pool. All right, so we've got some bicarb soda here, which is bicarb soda. What that does is increases the alkalinity in the pool and stops the pH bounce. This is what I've got here. It's actually called chlorine neutralizer. Well, it just looks like little sort of grainy type things. That actually takes chlorine out of the water. All right, so because we've got a high chlorine, I'll put this in there. That'll strip it back down at 2, is where we want to be. Another great thing about this product is if I'm doing a green pool, all right, so I've got to put a lot of chlorine into the pool. I've got to overdose it to kill the green. Now, in summertime, once the pool's blue, people want to swim in it straight away. All right? But when you've got such a high chlorine level, it's going to take a week before it goes down. Once I've got it clean, chlorine's done its work, then I can strip the chlorine out of it. So by using this product, and this will work within an hour, that chlorine level will be back down. All right? So very good product to get your pool back to swimming very quickly after a green pool. Then we'll put this in the skimmer box. This will slowly dissolve, strip the chlorine out. Our final step, give everything a good brush down. And finally the final skim to getting little bits and pieces off the top. Okay, here's job number 2. This is a semi-regular customer that it's not a regular as a monthly. I probably come every 2 or 3 months. Sent me a text message the other day, Adam, pool's looking a bit average, can you come around and wave your magic wand? So let's wave our magic wand. We'll just get our normal stuff out.
What are your clients like in general? What have you found over the years?
I've made some really good friends out of clients.
Yep.
You know, some mates and stuff like that. You get some clients that I've got clients that I'll never see. You know, I just come, I clean the pool, email them an invoice, they pay me. Occasional text message and stuff like that. I might see them every 6 months or 12 months. Then I'm home during the day.
Yep.
I come in, I pat the dog, clean the pool. That's all nice and easy. Well, this doesn't look too bad at all. Right, we've got another robotic cleaner on this one. This is a slightly different style. Same sort of thing, but a little bit different. Okay, so first things we'll do, we'll do the backwash on the filter. As we can see here, that's a massive calcium deposit on the chlorinator cell. Right, so that's actually the part that makes the chlorine. Byproduct of making chlorine is calcium. Now that's filled up completely. You can see the pump is running, but we've got very minimal water going through there. So we have got an issue with our pool somewhere. Right, so we're going to backwash it first and see if that'll get rid of our problem. So we know there's nothing wrong with the pump, so we've got that working well. Now this pump hasn't been serviced for a little while, probably 3 or 4 months. So the filter is quite dirty. As you saw in the last one, we only probably backwashed for a minute or so. This one's still going, so you really should backwash a filter every month. Right, it's the easiest way to do it. It's like cleaning your vacuum bag in the house. If you don't, once the bag gets full, you just don't get suction. It doesn't work properly. Now, what we have to do, we have to clean this, right? Because that is restricting our water flow. We can get the water into the pump, no worries, through the filter, but it's got to come back. It's got to come through here before it goes back to the pool. Because that is built up there, it's very much restricting the way the water can come through. Make sure your pump's turned off before you do this. Off, good. Because if you don't, and your pump decides to turn on while you've got this apart, things are going to get very wet. As you can see by that, that is the reason why we haven't got any water flow. Right, so that is a calcium buildup. That's a byproduct of making chlorine. The way to clean that is with the hydrochloric acid. Right, so I'll go to the van, I'll get some hydrochloric acid in a bucket, and we'll soak that. Now with that on there as well, because it has got the calcium on there, it can't make chlorine, right? Because it's blocking the whole thing up. So if this was summertime, lucky it's winter, right? Because your pool, as I said, it doesn't need a lot of chlorine in winter time. If that was in summertime, that pool would be green, right? Because it's got no water flow going through there. The cell's not making chlorine. Summertime, 3 or 4 days, bang, we've got a green pool, right? And some people will treat the pools, they'll get it blue again, but it's going to keep turning green. So unless you actually know what you're looking for, the issues, this is what we do. We can come in there, we can find those problems, rectify it, and then your pool should just run beautifully. So what we're using now is hydrochloric acid. Right? Hydrochloric acid is acid. It will burn you. If it gets in your eyes, it will blind you. It's nasty stuff. So these things, straight on your head all the time. Now if you just watch that you don't get a mouthful of this stuff, because it will take your breath away. Yeah, because it's too big. Alright, you can see that, that's a chemical reaction. That's the acid burning off the calcium. And that's the only way to clean the cells. Be very, very careful with your chemicals. Never mix acid, as I've got here, with chlorine, right, because it makes mustard gas. Right, it will take your breath away, and I don't know if it'll kill you, but it's not good for you. So just to remember, never mix chemicals. So 1 times clean cell. Now you can see we've got full flow going back through there. When we first got here, it was just a dribble because of the fact that whole cell was blocked. The water physically couldn't get through there. So now we're back to full circulation, and we've got a chlorinator that's working efficiently.
You do regular meetings, don't you?
Yes, we do.
You hold them, don't you? Because maybe you want to talk about your meetings in particular. What do you do?
Sorry, mate.
Maybe you want to talk about your meetings in particular. What do you do for your
Okay.
guys?
Look, because because our group is so spread out over Melbourne, you know, like I've got guys in Sunbury, down the Mornington Peninsula, stuff like that. When we were smaller, we used to have a lot more face-to-face. But because we are so spread out now, it's a big effort for guys to travel a long way. So what we're doing now mostly is Zoom meetings, online meetings, which the whole world has turned to, which makes it a lot easier. So we don't do a lot over summer because of the fact that everyone is so busy. It's very hard to get the guys together. We've got one scheduled for next week. Guys ask questions, where we're going here, there's new products, what sort of training you want to do and stuff like that. That's a big part of my job also, is liaison with our suppliers and with the guys, what sort of training they want. You know, the suppliers going, oh look, we're doing this and this and this, and that's great for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. So I work between them to find out what suits best our guys, go back to the suppliers, and we get that. It's also a great thing because when you're on the road by yourself, sometimes it gets a little bit lonely, you know, because you haven't got the other guys there to talk. The good thing is, because we've got such a good network of guys, everyone's got the phone number, the boys talk to each other. You know, if you're stuck on a problem, you ring me, I'm on the phone, or I'm stuck on a job and I don't answer the phone, they'll ring one of the other franchisees, one of the other boys that's been on for a while, and pretty much 9 times out of 10 you can figure it out over the phone.
Obviously in summer you slap a bit, you'd go for a bit of sunscreen?
Yeah, of course, mate, you have to.
Yep.
Yeah. The Melbourne sun can be quite harsh, so you know, I am follically challenged, so I'm always wearing a hat. But in summertime I've got my bucket hat on, sunscreen of course every morning, and lots of water. And the beautiful thing about it, you work your own hours. Like as I said earlier, look, I love my water skiing, I've got a race car and I've got lots of toys and stuff like that, so if we've got a long weekend on when we're racing and stuff like that, I'll just, you know, I might have to do the client on the Friday, I'll just let them know I'm coming on Thursday or the next Monday. It doesn't worry them. You know, as long as you don't have to have access to the property, so they have to be home. I've got key fobs to clients' gates. I've got keys to their garages. I don't want to go inside the house. I don't need a key to the house. I don't want one. But I just need a key to the gate, or I'll send them a text the night before going, can you leave the gate open? They leave the gate open, I come in, do my thing, don't have to go in there, invoice them, I'm gone, you know. I suppose what makes a success in any business is your work ethics, of course, but you've got to be a people person. You really have to, because you're gaining someone's trust. You know, like this client here, they're not home, but they've allowed me to come into their home, clean their pool, do whatever I need to do and go. Right? They're not worried about me going into the shed or stealing anything and stuff like that. And that, I think that's the biggest thing, is you've just got to be a good people person, you know. Talk to your clients, treat them as you would like to be treated, like anyone does, you know. You do a good job for a fair price, don't rip anyone off. You know, I like to sleep well at night. And you know when you've got a tradesman and they've taken advantage of you, and you will never use that tradesman again. The beauty about this is even if they're, you know, you're doing a one-off job, they're not going to be a regular client, but you look after them, you do a good job. Next time they need a pool service, they're going to call you. An unserviced lead is when someone rings Jim's and they want their pool cleaned and we have to say no because none of the boys have got time to do it. They're too busy. Marketing is a very complex structure to make it work. I've been working on down here for 10 years, tried multiple different streams. We've got it nailed on the head now, so I think we had, look, there's off my tip, probably 850 unserviced leads last year. So we had to tell 850 people that we couldn't clean their pool because we were too busy.
And that's just in your region alone, isn't it? Or
It's Victoria.
Victoria as a whole,
Yeah, you know. But the boys can, you know, if they're hungry, they can pick up 30, 40 leads a month, you know, when we're in spring. Whether or not you'll get another job off them in a month's time or in 6 months' time, in a year's time, but they always keep coming back. You know, I get clients that I've serviced 3 years ago and they'll ring me out of the blue. And, oh yeah, no worries, John, I'll come out and have a look at your pool.
So when's the best time for a client to get a Jim's pool guy in Victoria? When should they book? When's the best time, you reckon?
To get in?
Yeah.
Early.
Early.
All right, so if you're looking at, Victoria's a bit of a funny place. Of course, we're destined by our weather, but we're also governed by the football, which seems very crazy. But once the grand final's done, things explode. I'm pretty sure because we are so football mad, everyone's watching the footy on the weekends, this and that. Suddenly the football's finished. We can't watch the footy on the weekends. And so then we better mow that grass. Let's go out. Oh, pool's green. So if you have a green pool or anything like that, get in September, October, because come November, you will struggle to get a green pool fixed. Look, I won't put a guy on in winter, a new guy like in the green fields, because we just don't, there's not enough new work coming on in winter. So August is the best time to actually to get on the road. There's probably about a month from start to being on the road. All right, so that month allows, look, a good 2 weeks on the road with myself. You've got your gym's training, which you've got another 3 days up there. We've got to get your van sign written. There's supplier trainings. You've got a week of being out with some different suppliers and stuff like that. So you've really got a month of training to get yourself up to scratch. I like to do that in August because the season's just starting. There's some new work coming in. Get into September, you got your first month on the road in September, which is, there's work coming in, but then it goes October, bang. All right, and the light goes off and it becomes extremely busy very, very quickly. The best time is to inquire in winter because, of course, you know, it's a big decision. It's not something you're going to make overnight. You've got to get that together. There's lots of other factors, but you want to be ready by August to get on the road. You know, because if you do come on in the middle of summer, you just get inundated and it can be very overwhelming. Now, if you see in our spa, you'd see it's a bit green and funky. All right? That's a major. The reason why it does go green is lack of chlorine, all right, which we noticed before because our pump wasn't working efficiently and neither was our chlorinator. All right, so that's actually algae. All right, but with my little super vacuum here, we should be able to. So it's got lovely blue tiles under there. So that's another skimmer, just a different style of skimmer basket, but same type of thing. The one thing for your customers and stuff like that, this is a very fine filter basket, you see very small holes. If you leave too many leads and stuff like that, it overloads, it does shut down the system, but it'll also crack through the bottom. Once they crack through the bottom, the leaves will go through here. Then they get into the pump basket, the front of the pump. I'll go through that in a second. And if you don't clean that out, then they go into the pump and they block your pump up. And then you've got to pull the pump apart and clean all the blockages. So, and another thing, if you do have a pool man, we've got all our own gear. All right, so we've got our vacuum hoses, we've got our vacuum plates, we've got everything we need in the car, and we also carry all the chemicals. All right, so you got to remember, like I remember as a kid, we had an above ground pool type thing, and the old man under the house, we had chlorines and acids and all sorts of lotions and potions and stuff like that. They're all dangerous chemicals, you know, so the beauty about us is we leave nothing on site. Right, so there's no acid there, there's no chlorine there, there's nothing like that. We've got everything in our van, and you don't have to buy 10 kilos of something or other. If it needs a kilo, we put a kilo in. If it needs 2 kilos, put 2 kilos in. So we're not selling you extra things that you don't need, and we're not leaving you dangerous chemicals on site. I do most of my clients on a monthly basis. Come summertime, I've got some clients that want it done every 2 weeks. I don't do weekly, just because, look, there's not enough. I feel guilty about doing it weekly because there's not really anything. I can scoop a few leaves out, give it a quick vacuum. It doesn't really need any chemicals. Okay, all right. Now we'll do some water tests and we'll see what's going on here. We may find some different readings here because of the fact that chlorinator wasn't working efficiently, and neither was the pump.
What does a franchisee get in the starter pack? Like, obviously, we're looking at a lot of equipment in the back here. Is this something they get at the start, or how does that normally work?
Yeah, look, the startup pack's 25,000. which pretty much covers everything apart from a van. Does all your sign-on van, your uniforms, all your training, iPads. There's your Zero setup, which I'll go through a little bit later on the invoicing side of it. Your chemicals, your equipment. What else is off the top of my head? We also do a Cert 3 in pool care, which is a qualified training course, which you'd actually do online because of COVID and stuff like that. Sure. It's not the classroom thing anymore. So it's pretty much everything you need to be a pool man, apart from a vehicle. You know, everyone says, why don't we get a vehicle? Because a vehicle will be $50,000. You might want a van, you might want a ute, you might want a trailer. So that's up to the individual because we can't package that up. But it's everything you need. Okay, this is why we've got a few issues here. Our chlorine is low. Now, because I've had the pool running for the last 15, 20 minutes, it's going to get a little bit more of a chlorine reading. Right? If I'd done this before I'd actually turned the chlorinator on, it would have been a lot lower. Our salt's at 2.9, right? That should be at 4. Right? Now, one thing with salt, there's a lot of misconception about salt in pools. Right? So, salt does not clean the water, does not kill the green, right? Does not kill algae. It is a medium, all right, for that salt chlorinator. As we cleaned that cell before, as the salty water goes through that, the head unit puts power into it, creates electrolysis. Byproduct of that is chlorine and calcium, as we see the calcium build up. All right. So if you do not have enough salt in the water, that chlorinator cannot work efficiently. Now, in a perfect world, if we had a bubble over this pool, all right, and we had no water loss whatsoever, you would never put salt in the pool again. All right? It only gets used up by dilution. All right? So in summertime, we've got a lot of evaporation, so you top and you pull up once a week. All right? Your pool might need a bag of salt every month. All right? Bag of salt's $12. All right? Very minimal. Same in winter, because we're getting a lot of rain, we're getting dilution, you don't need as much. But in a perfect world, you never put salt in your water again. Also, we've got CYA, which is called cyanuric acid. All right? Now, cyanuric acid it's sunscreen for the pool. All right? We put sunscreen on ourselves when we go out in the sun, so we don't get sunburnt. It's a very similar thing, but it works on the chlorine molecule in the pool. All right? So that's a chlorine molecule. Cyanuric acid actually puts a coating around there. All right? So the biggest killer of chlorine is UV. If we've got a 35-degree day, it'll strip nearly every piece of that chlorine out during the day if you've got no cyanuric acid in there, because it just burns the chlorine out. So by putting the cyanuric acid in there, it puts a coating over the chlorine and protects us the same way as we do when we've got when we're out in the sun with sunscreen. Right, apart from that, the pH is okay, our alkaline is okay. All right, so I'm not going to put any more chlorine in there because that chlorinator will pick up to it because it's okay now. But we need some salt and we need some CNO. Be happy days. Now, I'm just having a good look at this, guys. What you can see, not sure if you can see it, but I can see it. You see down here, just next to our little helicopter, but we'll get that out in a minute. You can see these little black spots in the water. Can you see those?
Yes.
All right, that's actually called black spot algae. All right, so that's actually, and there's some growing around the corners here. All right, that's because the system hasn't been working properly. We haven't been getting enough chlorine in there. All right, so the algae starts. Now, once that starts, it's very hard to get rid of. Right, it's like a weed. All right. So what I'm going to do is give it an algae treatment, all right, black spot algae treatment, to kill that. Because if you don't kill it, it'll just keep growing, and before we know it, we're going to have algae everywhere. So first thing I'm going to do is shut down the system to stop the water flow floating around, so I can do what we need to do. So what I've got here is calcium hypochlorite, which is commonly known as powdered chlorine. All right. It's chlorine I use mostly liquid because it's nice and clean. But what I'll do is actually sprinkle this directly on top of the algae, all right, because it's hardcore chlorine. It'll sit on there and it nukes it very, very quickly. Let's see how we go, eh? I've turned off the circulation on the pool because as I sprinkle this in, I want it to actually, because it's heavier than the water, of course, to sit actually on top of it. So if you come around in here, You can see those little spots where it is. You have to put a lot on, just enough to sit on the top. It's quite hard when it's sitting on the walls because you can't get the chlorine to sit on the wall, but we can. Now, if you've got a vinyl pool, right, because there are a lot of pools around that in-ground pools like this, but they've actually got a vinyl liner, don't do this because it is bleach and you will end up with white little spots because it'll actually bleach out the vinyl and kill it. Tile pools, no worries. Fiberglass pools, because fiberglass is such a smooth surface, algae doesn't stick to it. You can just brush it straight off. So this is more for this is a quartz-on pool and your Pebble Creek pool. Pebble Creek pools probably even more so because it's actually an aggressive surface and the algae in theory has got like a weed. It has actually got roots, so it's got something really to hang on to. You can brush as much as you want, but you have to kill it before we can get it off.
How much of a education process is the, let's say, the chemical side of people might be daunted by it?
Look, it's not rocket science. Yep. Right? There's a basic formula to it, which of course we teach you. As you go along, you start learning. I teach you these tricks. I never knew this at the start. Right? I don't know how I picked this up, right? But I did along the way. But it's a magic trick, you know? And I show occasional customer this if they're a good customer, and I show all the guys starting, of course, you know. But it works really, really well. Because if you go to other places, to pool shops and whatnots, and you go, I've got black spot algae, they'll go, well, you need to buy this, and you need to buy this, and $300 later, you'll have all these chemicals, and it will work. Or you can do this, and it works straight away.
Obviously, fees is a question as well. So fees is the thing. So maybe you want to talk about the fees or the value of fees, or someone buys a business, they don't understand the concept of it. What does fees mean to you, or what are you?
Well, fees is part of it, you know. Like, and for you guys, look, your fees would sort of come in about, depending on how many leads you're taking, about $800 a month. Right, give or take, maybe 900. Right, they're going to go up a little bit in summertime when you're taking a lot of food, when you're taking a lot of work, but that's about it. So if you look at that, it's about, let's work about $200 a week. All right. This average job, this will come in at probably 160. All right. So I do 1.5 jobs a week. That's paid my fees.
And what's included? You get obviously the website, you get all the marketing support, you get
advertising
the brand.
and stuff like that. And a lot of people think, oh, it's only advertising. All right. Advertising is a complete minefield. All right. When I first started out, look, I'm not any good with computers, so I reached out to other people who tried so many different strategies, but Google keeps changing the playing field constantly. So you've got to have someone who is on the ball, which is understanding how Google's working. Now we've got Facebook, now you've got Instagram and Twitters and all these other things that I don't really understand, right? So we've got a team together that's what they do, right? And we've got a budget, right? So everyone puts in $230 a month. That's our advertising. So it's $25 a week, right? For that, you don't have to do any advertising, right? You should go out there and do your local marketing and all the rest of the stuff. We're actually quite blessed in Victoria because we get so much work. Not a lot of guys do a lot of local advertising. They will at the start because they're keen, they're passionate, they go, put their cart out, they get over that pretty quick because so much work comes in.
The other stuff you touched on before as well also goes into obviously the meetings, the conferences, you being on call 24/7 to someone like your full-time business coach to people.
And there's also with our suppliers, right? Because as a group, you get group buying discounts, you know. So we've approached all the main suppliers, right, and say, look, you know, do you want to support us? They go, of course we do. So we get very good discounts off them. If I was out on the pool man, I'll walk in there, I'll go, how much is this? And they go, it's X. I go, and it's out on the pool man, it's there, right? Because we buy so much off them, we get good discounts, and they bend over backwards for you.
How much does the brand help you as opposed to if you were, let's say, on the pool man?
Yeah. Massively. You know, I speak to some of the franchises that come on board, and they said, look, Adam, I couldn't do this without gyms, all right? Because we're not mowing lawns, all right? It's not too hard to mow. I'm not putting mowing down, of course, right? But it's not that hard to mow a lawn. You've got a lawn mower, you mow the lawn, stuff like that. We're doing something that's a little bit more technical here. And to gain this knowledge, you can't gain it from reading a book or watching YouTube, all right? You need people that are in the industry that know what they're doing. You need the training, you need the on-hand experience. and stuff like that. And they've said, look, there's no way that we could have done it without gyms, without the training, without the support, because it gives you everything you need to be successful.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, if you wanted to, let's say, for example, you had no idea about, let's say, mowing and gardening, you could probably just buy a mower and maybe, you know, you might not be any good. I'm not saying you'd be any good,
Yes.
but with this, I don't know where you would start. Like, if you go, right, I want to get in this industry, where the hell do you start?
You wouldn't. No. You know, the pool industry is a big industry, but it's a small industry. Everybody knows everyone. You know, there's lots of independent blokes out there and stuff like that, but they've got their client base. Right? They're happy. They've got their 80 regular clients or something like that. That keeps them going. They're sort of doing the same thing as us, but we've just got this market share. You know, there's us and Poolworks, and Poolworks are probably a little bit bigger than us, but they're more bricks and mortar. Right? They've got to have a shop. Right? They're not just a bloke on the road.
It's a lot higher cost to get into.
A lot higher costs, a lot higher overheads, and a lot bigger fees, right? Because they'll actually take a percentage of your turnover. So with gyms, most franchises, right, will take a percentage of your turnover, whether it be 10 to 15%. And that's your turnover before you've paid rent, before you've paid taxes, before you've done anything. The difference with gyms is it's a set fee, right? So it's X amount per month. You know what you're paying. There's a franchise fee, a lead fee on top of that. So every time you get a phone call through the 131 number, there is a fee to that. Some of the guys say, well, why should we be paying this fee? I've spoken to Jim heavily about this over the years, and he said, at the start, there wasn't a lead fee. All right, he goes, they were just bang. He said, the problem was guys were just picking the eyes out of them and going, nah, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. Oh, I'll take that. And that was really letting down the whole gyms group because we weren't servicing the customers. All right, so that's why that's come in. As I said, when the guys are new, they'll take lots of new work in, right? Because you need work. You know, the phone rings, right? And they're not on the other end of the phone saying, Adam, come around and have a look at my beautiful pool. I've got a problem with my pool, I need help, right? So my catchphrase when I'm talking to a customer on the phone, or it comes through, how can I help you? Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you with your pool and get it fixed. So it's a very, probably, I think, the most fair franchise system fees-wise, I don't know, in the world, but definitely in Australia. And that's why there's 4,000 and something guys running around in gyms. There's more now.
Yeah, 4,380.
Well, there you go, I stand corrected. So 4,300 and something people can't be wrong, can they?
That's it.
All right, we're going to throw this salt in. All right guys, this is job number 3 for the day. We're only halfway in, it's taken us a little bit longer because we've been doing the filming. I've still got quite a few more jobs to do afterwards. But this is job number 3. Pretty much the same as the last 2 we've done, but you never know what could happen, so let's go and have a look. Yeah, you've got a new puppy. This is part of the job as well. Hello. G'day, hey, come here. Zuka, hello Zuka. Hello. Oh, look at you. Oh, little cutie. You stay in there, little fella. We have the means to get that back out. Is there a what? Is there a strategy to get your pole out of the pool? Yeah, hopefully you've got another one. Usually comes out a lot easier than this. He comes out a hell of a lot easier than this. Oh, I've got my thing, I'm still down. Bloody thing. You're not filming this.
Mate, it looks like you're scooping already.
Oh, yeah. so close. You guys put a lot of pressure on.
Feel like we're playing the pool.
You haven't fallen in before, have you, Adam? I know it's...
Yes, I have.
I guess it'd be easy to do if you walking around in pools all day.
You get blasé. It's usually like if you've got edges on here and stuff like that. I did it, 5, 6 years ago. Luckily, it was a lovely day in summer. A 30 sort of degree type day. A nice clean pool as well. Walk along, I think I was vacuuming, and tripped. Pole went in, I went, pole bent and snapped in half. I went in up to about here, and I went, it's not a bad day to be in the pool. And had a lovely lady at the end. She's come in, she goes, you all right, Adam? I go, yeah, I'm okay. She goes, do you want some fresh clothes? I'll give you some of your husband's clothes. I go, no, I'll dry out. And my boots were a bit wet, so I took my boots off and they dried out and jumped in. But there is a rule in the pool industry. If you fall in the pool, it's a slab penalty. You drop a leg in, it's a 6-pack. And occasionally you do get the phone, the message, I owe a slab off one of the boys. All right, so we're back, just another normal pool clean. This one's got a few leaves in it.
What pool would you recommend for people put money in? Is there any sort of different types?
Of course there's different types, yeah. Like, I only do in-ground pools. I don't do above-ground pools anymore. This is another quartz-on pool, which was similar to the last one we're at, which is a concrete pool with a render over it to give it that sort of sparkly look. Your best pools are your fully tiled pools, which would be like the spa, but the whole pool is tiled. And when you are building a pool, if you want it fully tiled, extra 10 or 15. So they're not cheap, but they look good, and they last. If they're built properly, they're very nice pools.
We don't talk about income, but it's always a question. You don't say, what are you sort of like more than what you're doing before, or how would you sort of rate it?
Income-wise on this, I make more money than I used to. Yeah. And I don't work anywhere near as hard. And I've got my life back. That's the difference between working for yourself and working for the man. When you're working for the man, you have to work X amount of hours. You start at this time, you finish at that time. There's no ifs and no buts. When you get into this yourself, you manipulate the work to suit your own lifestyle. I do. If I want to have a long weekend, I take a long weekend. I massage my customers, so if I had jobs on Friday, I said, man, I'm going away for the weekend, I'll be there Tuesday. It's no worries at all.
But saying that though, you still work very hard. You just know that you've got that flexibility. You've got that flexibility there.
Well, there's times when you've got to go double hard, and there's times when you can cruise, And if you want to have some time off, and the sort of, look, ideally in a perfect world, we'd be around the other way. We'd be busy in winter and quiet in summer, but we're not. But I still have, every year, I take from Christmas till probably the 7th off. Right? And everyone goes, oh, why are you doing that? It's the middle of summertime, it's crazy busy. I know it's crazy busy. But I need that break to calm down, because I'm working 6 days plus, 10 hours a day for a couple of months running up to Christmas, but I'm being paid very well for that time as well. So, and then, well, look, COVID sort of messed things up a bit, but usually winter time, I'll go to Bali for a couple of weeks. We go on holidays, Always go somewhere warm.
It's not bad for you. Not bad for you. You got to go to Europe or go. You can go in the
over there. Because it's summer over there. So that's sort of the advantage, Look, it'd be beautiful to have most of the summer off, but you make money while the sun shines. You make real good money in summer. Winter time, you make a good wage. But I'm only working 6 hours a day. Or I can go, let's go hard. I'll work 8 hours a day and I'll have Friday off, because that's what I need to do. All right, you got your camera going? As I was talking about earlier on, about not cleaning your basket, as you can see by that is chock-a-block full. All right, that is an issue, because water can't get through that, can't get through the pump system. The pumps actually do have a no-flow feature on them, not actually the pump, the chlorinator. So if there's not enough water going through that chlorinator, because of a restriction like this, they'll actually turn themselves off. So it's inbuilt to stop the pump running dry. Pumps need water to go. If you run a pump with no water going through there, it'll last half an hour and it'll melt, all right? Because actually the water inside boils, the plastic inside, and then it's gone. So that is an issue. Right, no more issue. All right, guys, thanks for coming along with me. Really enjoyed having you out on the road today. I hope you got a bit of an insight to what Jim's Pool Care is all about and how we work. If you are interested, which I hope you are, you can ring the 131 546 number, put an inquiry through there, jump on to jimspoolcare.com.au, a lot of information on there. Make the call, put the inquiry through, and hopefully next time we see you, you'll be in the van with me and this will be your life. So thanks again.